Hello students, welcome to AIMS India online classes. This is a chemistry session. In this, we are discussing about the structure of atom chapter. In this session, we are going to discuss about Bohr's model of atom. In 1913, one of Rutherford's students, Niels Bohr, proposed a model of atom that was consistent with Rutherford's model and the quantum theory of radiation. Yes, Niels Bohr, he was one of the students of Rutherford, and he proposed a theory which is consistent with Rutherford's model as well as quantum theory of radiation. Means some points were taken from Rutherford's theory and some aspects of proposals were taken from quantum theory in proposing this model of atom which we call as Bohr's model of atom. Okay. He modified the problems and limitations associated with Rutherford's model of atom. Yes, some points he followed this as it is same from the Rutherford's model. Not only that, he modified some problems. What are the limitations of there in the Rutherford's model were overcome in this Bohr's model. He resolved those problems in the Rutherford's model. Now let us see the important postulates which were given in the Bohr's model of atom. Okay, postulates of Bohr's atomic model, let us see here. One among them is electrons move around the nucleus in specified circular paths, which are called as orbits or shells, are also called energy levels. What did he say, Bohr? He told that electrons are revolving around the nucleus in the specified circular paths with high velocity. These circular imaginary paths are called orbits or shells, or even they are also called energy levels. See, in this way, these energy levels are represented. There are so many energy levels in each and every atom. Each orbit or shell is associated with a definite amount of energy. That is why these shells or orbits are also called energy levels. So, for each and every shell, there is a definite amount of energy. The electrons present in that particular shell will be associated with definite amount of energy. Hence, these shells are also called as energy levels. Now, these are designated as K, L, M, N, or 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. Okay, these shells are named with the letters first shell. The nearest shell to the nucleus is named with the symbol K, and next L, M, N, and so on. And even they are also given numbers first shell, second shell, third shell, fourth, fifth, sixth, and so on. In this way, they are designated. The energy associated with a certain energy level increases with the increase of its distance from the nucleus. Yes, each and every energy level or orbit is associated with a fixed amount of energy. And here, the energy level which is nearest to the nucleus is having lowest energy. And as the distance from the nucleus to the orbit increases, the energy associated with that energy level also being increased. So the orbit or shell which is far away is associated with the maximum energy, and the shell or energy level which is nearest to the nucleus is associated with least energy. Okay. Hence, if the energies associated with the shells K, L, M, N are E1, E2, E3, E4 respectively, then they can be related like this. E1 is less than, E2 is less than, E3 is less than. In that way, they will be continued. So the shell which is nearest to the nucleus is having the lowest energy. It is the first energy level. That is a K shell. K shell is associated with the least amount of energy among all the shells in every atom. And as the distance from the nucleus to the energy level increases, the energy associated with that also increases. Okay, as long as the electron revolves in a particular orbit, the electron does not lose its energy. Therefore, these orbits are also called as stationary orbits. Okay, and these electrons are said to be stationary energy states. Okay, whenever electron is revolving in a particular orbit, until and unless it changes its position, if it is revolving the same orbit, its energy neither be increased nor be decreased. Its energy will be fixed. So the electrons, if it is revolving in a particular orbit, it will be revolving or continuously with the constant energy. That is why these orbits are also called stationary orbits, because energy is being fixed for the electrons when it is revolving in a particular orbit. They are called stationary orbits, and the electrons are said to be in stationary energy states. In that state, the energy is being stationary. It is fixed. Okay. An electron jumps from a lower energy level to higher energy level by absorbing energy. And if it jumps from higher energy level to lower energy level, it emits energy. So what we told, whenever electron revolving in a particular orbit, it neither gains energy nor lose energy. Its energy will be constants. That's why we told here these orbits as stationary orbits. But whenever it absorbs certain amount of energy from the outsource, whenever electron is gaining certain amount of energy, then that electron jumps from lower orbit to higher orbits. Okay, if electron is jumping from higher orbit to lower orbit, then that electron emits a certain amount of energy. So when electron jumping from one orbit to another orbit, energy changes occurs. If an electron is jumping from lower orbit to higher orbit, that means that electron is gaining energy. Electrons jump from lower orbit to higher orbit when they gain energy. If electron it is jumping from higher orbit to lower orbit, from that we can say it is emitting certain amount of energy, because we told electrons in the higher orbits will be associated with maximum amount of energy, and electrons in the lower orbits are associated with less amount of energy. If an electron jumping from less energy orbit to higher energy orbit, it should gain that difference amount of energy from the surroundings. So when it gains that energy, it can jump to higher orbit. In the reverse way, when electron is jumping from higher energy level to lower energy level, the difference amount of energy between those two orbits will be emitted by the electron. In this way, energy changes occurs when electron jumps from one orbit to another orbit. The energy emitted by the electron is seen in the form of electromagnetic energy, and when the wavelength in this visible region, it is visible as an emission line. Okay, we are telling when electron jumps from higher orbit to lower orbit, they emit energy. This energy emitted by the electron is seen in the form of electromagnetic radiation or electromagnetic energy. And when the wavelength is in the visible region, it is visible as an emission line. Okay, if it is in the visible region, in the wavelength of that radiation emitted, if it is in the visible region, then it is visible as an emission line. Bohr's model explains all the line spectra observed in the case of hydrogen atom. Yes, he studied the spectral lines obtained when energy is passed on to the hydrogen atoms. What happens when energy is passed on to hydrogen atoms? The electrons in their outer shells of these hydrogens, they gain energy. Just now we told when electrons gain energy, they jump to higher orbits. They won't be for a long time in the higher orbits. Immediately they jump back to their original orbits. While jumping like that, they radiate energy. Radiate energy in the sense they emit energy. That emitted energy will be in the form of electromagnetic radiation. And Bohr explained about these all atomic spectra observed in the hydrogen atom. Different atomic lines, spectral lines are observed, because for all the hydrogen atoms, electrons won't jump into same higher orbits. For suppose for one atom, it may jump from first orbit to second orbit, and for some atoms, they may jump from first orbit to fourth orbit. In this way, electrons may jump into different orbits. When they are coming back to their first orbit, original position, they release different amounts of energies. That is why the spectral lines also will be observed in different patterns. So these all different spectral lines were observed by Niels Bohr in his hydrogen spectrum experiment. It is a successful model as far as line spectra of hydrogen atom is concerned. So if it is most successful because he given the complete spectra line spectra of hydrogen atom by studying all kinds of energy emissions. The energy emitted or absorbed is given by Planck's equation. We told he considered the statements from Planck's quantum theory also. What is the main postulate of Planck's quantum theory? There he stated that electrons are emitting energy, and this emitted energy is not being continuous. Energy emitted by the particles is being discontinuous in the form of small packets, and the energy of each packet, which is called quanta, the energy of each packet is equal to h nu, where nu is its frequency of that radiation. Here he also applied the same here, Planck's equation. Electrons are jumping from higher orbit to lower orbit and they're emitting energy. That emitted energy is equal to the difference between the energies associated with those two orbits, that is given as h nu. Okay. For example, if E1 and E2 are the energies of first and second orbits, the difference in energy is equal to h nu. That is E2 minus E1 is equal to h nu, where this h represents a constant called Planck's constant. What is the value of Planck's constant? We know as it is 6.625 into 10 to the power of minus 34 joule second. So this is the value of Planck's constant. And nu, we know nu is representing here frequency of that radiation emitted by the electrons. In this way, the energy emitted by the electrons when jumping from higher orbit to lower orbit is given by taking the difference between the energies associated with the orbits, that is equal to h nu. Okay. Even though it is giving much clarity about the structure of the atom and explained about the hydrogen atomic spectra, line spectra of hydrogen is explained very well. There are some limitations in this theory. Those we call as defects of Bohr's atomic model. Let us hear what are those. Bohr's theory could not explain the atomic spectra of higher elements such as helium, lithium, beryllium, boron, and etc., which have more than one electron. This we can say the major limitation of Bohr's atomic model. Bohr's atomic model is given by studying the atomic spectra of single electron species hydrogen. So it cannot be applicable for the multi-electron systems, means multi-electron atoms, means the atoms which are having more than one electron. For those all atoms, this theory is not applicable. So Bohr's model is applicable only for single electron species. It is not applicable for multi-electron atoms. The atoms which are having more than one electron, for those Bohr's theory is not applicable. That's a major drawback we can say. Next, Bohr's model could not explain even hydrogen spectrum obtained using high resolution spectroscopes. In each spectral line on high resolution was found to consist of two closely spectral lines again, spaced lines again. So he observed when electrons jumping from higher orbit to lower orbit, energy is emitted. This energy is emitted in the form of lines. He called those lines as spectral lines. That was okay. But when these lines are observed through high resolution spectroscopes, again each line is consisting of two closely spaced lines. So why these multi lines are existing in the spectral lines? For this, Bohr could not give an answer. And one more, he could not explain Zeeman effect. That is what means when these spectral lines are passed through certain magnetic field, these spectral lines are splitting into multi lines, fine lines. So this phenomenon of splitting of spectral lines in the presence of magnetic field is called Zeeman effect. So this Zeeman effect, why these spectral lines are splitting into finer lines in the presence of magnetic field, was not explained by Bohr's theory. So we can say the phenomenon of Zeeman effect was not explained in Bohr's theory. In the same way, these spectral lines are splitting into finer lines even in the presence of electric field also. This was explained by Stark effect. So this is called Stark effect. The splitting of spectral lines in the presence of electric field is called Stark effect. So Bohr's theory could not explain even Stark effect also. Bohr's theory could not account for the formation of chemical bonds. So he explained here how electrons are revolving around the orbits, how the energies are associated with the orbits in the electron with the electrons, and what is the distance from each electron with the nucleus. These all were explained very well in the Bohr's theory, but he could not account for the chemical bond formation. How do these atoms are participating in the bond formations was not explained by Bohr's theory. This is one of the limitations or drawbacks in the Bohr's atomic model. Next, to explain why these atomic spectral lines are being splitting into two or more finer lines was explained further in Bohr-Sommerfield's model of an atom. So Bohr's theory is extended by one more scientist, Sommerfeld, and he proposed a model to explain these limitations in the Bohr's theory. In an attempt to account for the structure of line spectra known as fine spectra, Sommerfeld modified Bohr's atomic model by adding elliptical orbits. Yes, in the Bohr's theory, it explained only about circular orbits. Electrons were he told that electrons are revolving in circular orbits around the nucleus, which are called shells or orbits or energy levels. Okay, so to explain the splitting of spectral lines, Sommerfeld extended his theory with the Bohr's theory that not only circular orbits, there are some elliptical orbits also in atoms. This extension given by him. See here, for fourth shell, along with the circular path, there are three more elliptical paths also for the electrons. Because of these many different shells existing in a particular shell, the electrons emission energy is being different, and hence the line is being splitting into finer lines. The splitting of spectral lines is because of the existence of two or more different paths for the electrons in a particular orbit. Not only circular paths, even there are existing elliptical paths also for the electrons. This is a proposal given by Sommerfeld. See, for each shell, how many different paths are existing for the electrons in each shell. If you see first shell, it has only circular shell. Second one is having, along with the circular path for electrons, there existing one more elliptical path also in the second shell. While retaining the first of Bohr's circular orbit as such. So here Sommerfeld also told that first orbit as circular path only. He added one elliptical orbit to Bohr's second orbit. So in the second orbit, along with the circular orbit, he added one elliptical orbit in the same shell and two elliptical orbits in the third shell and three elliptical orbits to the fourth Bose orbit, such that the nucleus of the atom is one of the principal foci of these elliptical orbits. So for these all elliptical orbits, the nucleus of the atom is being one of the foci. In that way, each shell consists of two or more different paths. So one being a circular path, and there are some elliptical paths also in each Bohr's orbit. That is why electrons are emitting different amounts of energies even though they are in the same orbit. That is why these spectral lines are being splitting into different finer lines. In this way, Sommerfeld has given answer for certain points which were where Bohr's theory was failed. He was guided by the fact that, in general, periodic motion under the influence of a central force will lead to elliptical orbits with the force situated at one of the foci. Okay. Bohr Sommerfeld, though successful in accounting for the fine line structure of hydrogen atomic spectra, does not provide a satisfactory picture for the structure of atom in general. Of course, this Sommerfeld's extension to the Bohr's theory given a little more explanation and clarity about the splitting of spectral lines as their existing sub-energy levels in each shell. Even though it is giving this much of clarity, it is not providing a satisfactory picture for the structure of the atom. It is not given much clarity still. This model failed to account for the atomic spectra of atoms more than one electron. So here also the same drawback continued. That is, atomic spectra of the atoms with more than one electron would not explain here too. That is a major drawback in the Sommerfeld's theory. Okay, this is about Bohr's atomic model and Sommerfeld's extension to that. Thank you for watching our video. Please subscribe our YouTube channel AIMS Today for latest updates on recorded videos.